folks who don't know, the Free State Project is a movement of voluntary human action where we are trying to concentrate libertarians in the state of New Hampshire.
I think we've done more in the last decade than every other libertarian movement combined has accomplished in the last 5 decades.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, libertarians and anarchists, movers, natives, and those on your way, thanks for tuning in to another episode, Season 2, Episode 5 of Free State Live, where you get to hear about all the ways you can live free and thrive in the free state of New Hampshire. First and foremost, welcome past our great hosting crew. As always, we have the tallest meme lord in Manchester, Bill the Giant. Bill, how's it going?
What's happening, dude? Good to see you.
You as well. It's been a jam-packed weekend we had this weekend. Fun, but that's a talk for another time and another show. You guys might want to tune into that.
Yeah.
And joining us this week, special co-host, the man, the myth, the mustache, the trucker you have all grown to know and love, Reed Coverdale. How are you, Reed?
I am doing well. Banned, but still doing well. Banned in real life and in my my Twitter life. So.
Yeah, finally getting banned from physical events and locations. I mean, that's a step up for the rest of us. So, and our guest for the night, we got a great guest. A lot of you know him, a lot of you love him. One of the more prolific amongst us, and up to his eyes in projects at any given time. Activist, author, and just all around great free stater, Alu Axelman. Alu, how's it going?
It's great, and I'm the shortest meme lord, and I'm not in Manchester, and I don't have a mustache.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like 2 of those 3 things are changeable.
You can replace all of those characteristics with books.
Yeah. Write a book about getting taller. But no, you've written books. You've written a lot of books, and that's the title of tonight's episode of Publishing Porcs. We want to talk about content creation and how porcupines and the Free State community can kind of get the word out and spread the message of liberty and the Free State Project and our community here, and to reach new people, to reach more people, and grow our message. And you've kind of done that. You've been really prolific. Like, how many books have you published at this point?
Taxation is Theft is the 6th.
The 6 books. And when did you publish your first book?
Early in 2021.
Right. So in a couple of years, you've now put out 6 books. And I have a copy of Taxation and Stuff sitting over here somewhere, slightly out of reach. And we'll grab that later. I got to finish reading it and give you a review. But like, huge catalog, and you just keep pumping out content. Why do you feel the need to pump out content? Like, what is it that you think writing brings to the table and publishing these books brings to the table that wasn't being done?
Well, on one hand, I just love writing. Since I started writing, I created LibertyBlock.com in 2017 to really supplement the radio show. I was doing talk radio, and now it's primarily a podcast with videos and audio podcasts. But I love writing, so I wrote articles, and now I write books about the bigger topics. But I think it's the most important thing. It's independence. So independence is the most important thing. Peaceful separation from the DC empire. Let New York and California be socialist, and let Texas be conservative, and Florida, and let New Hampshire be the liberty place. It is the place for liberty to live free and thrive. And it's the most successful liberty migration and liberty movement in the world, I would say, in history. And that's what I want to write about. It's liberty, it's New Hampshire, and it's peaceful separation. Every book comes back to that. Even when I try to write about taxation or due process or corona fascism, everything by the conclusion chapter, the final chapter, everything is about peaceful separation. So that's what it always comes back to for me. So it's a bit of a spoiler for all the books, but still I think the books have a lot of content that people would find unique and interesting and surprising and infuriating and hopefully somewhat entertaining sometimes. I try not to reinvent the wheel. I don't like redundancy. I think there are a lot of great books out there, and I reference a lot of books in my book. I have no issue with that. A lot of authors have written about corruption better and more than I could, like Peter Schweitzer and Dan Bongino. People have written about taxation and history and stuff more than I have, but I always have a very unique, and all my books are unique because they're from the voluntarist perspective, they're from the decentralist capitalist perspective. They're from a very unique perspective about New Hampshire being the only way to win politically successfully for liberty. So I think they're very, very unique. I work hard and research really hard, and they each have like 3 to 500 or 600 footnotes. So they're probably the most sourced books overall as far as footnotes. So yeah, I could slow down a little bit. That's why I think writing is important, and it reaches a lot of people. Thankfully, they're on Amazon, at least for now. They haven't been canceled much, so it can reach about 1 billion people through Amazon. And I just did the math, and I sold a total of over 600 books in total since I started publishing books a year and a half ago. So that's
Nice.
awesome. I can reach a lot of people, and if they lend the book to friends and share it, and other people hear about it, and they could buy books, hopefully thousands and thousands, and people who move to New Hampshire will read it, and those who don't yet live here can read the books and be convinced to move here because this is where Liberty lives.
And he's
So,
not lying about the research either. I have a copy of Articles of Secession right here with me, and it's got 6 pages of footnotes just detailing the research he did that goes into it. So
yeah, the man knows what he's doing, and Alu, your books are not the only thing that you write. You also run the Liberty Block. Can you tell people about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I created Liberty Block, like I said, 2017, and it has a lot of articles about
What is it
mostly
exactly?
local politics. What's that?
What is it? What is the Liberty Block?
Yeah, it's a publication that has articles and it hosts our videos and podcasts. And it's all about liberty from the voluntarist perspective, though some of the writers are libertarian or even conservative or even liberal, progressive, left libertarian. And right now it focuses, since I live in New Hampshire, it focuses primarily on New Hampshire. So state and local stuff and some stuff that's more throughout the United States or the world. But like 70% of the content is local to New Hampshire. And it's from a voluntarist perspective, peace, liberty, non-aggression principle, live and let live. So I try to cover pretty much all the pertinent issues going on in New Hampshire, whether good or bad. And I try to cover pretty much every bill every session. So in a few months, we'll have a whole lot of articles about every bill that's filed that's either really good or really bad, so that people can know to tell their legislators to support it or oppose it. So in that sense, I work in tandem, I think, pretty well with NHLA, the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, their volunteers, which includes me, and all of you guys, reviews all the legislation and gives it a score based on how good or how bad it is. And the ones that are very good or very bad, I try to write an article, at least one article about every single one. And then I bug you guys and everyone else in the community to help contribute to the articles, because I can't write 500 articles in a few weeks.
Right.
So,
are you sure you can't? Because I've seen your word count.
yeah.
Yeah, the man can crank out content. So how many people it's not just you over there at the Liberty Block? How many people? You got a big team?
Yeah, the podcast team, we have like 5 co-hosts for the Wednesday podcast, the Liberty Block, the Conservatarian Exchange. It's mostly conservatarians, conservative libertarians. They're all like tremendous, brilliant, 200 IQ, mostly middle-aged professionals who are, lawyers and big contractors who are smart. My dad is he's the primary host. So we have those 5, and they write some articles. My dad's working on an article we're going to publish hopefully later tonight. And a few other people, my brother contributes, and a few friends, and I think each of you have probably contributed some of the articles, and then a few state reps have written op-eds as well. And we have a smaller team that does stuff once in a while. Right now, it's mostly me, the articles, but we would love more people to help with content as far as writing and editing, because, like I said, I have a lot on my plate, and we'd love tons of people to help with a lot more content.
Yeah, so if somebody wants to, or if they've written something and they want to get it out there to the libertarians of New Hampshire, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Just email it, just put on the Liberty Block site at the comment section at the bottom or something. What do they do?
Yeah, any of those work. The best way to get a hold of me is alu@libertyblock.com.
Okay.
So
yeah, because I would imagine there's people out there who are writing stuff that don't know where to put it to get it in front of people, and that's something that you definitely get. Weren't you telling me at one point that the Liberty Block is like the 3rd biggest, New Hampshire publication of news?
Yeah,
Granite Grok was number 1, and there was something else that was number 2.
Yeah, back when the Amazon Alexa ranking system was active, it doesn't exist anymore. But it was Amazon's thing that kind of ranked all the web traffic overall by like visits or unique visitors or whatever. Number 1 was WMUR's website, which is ABC's affiliate for the Northeast. That was number 1 in New Hampshire, kind of. And then number 2 was granitegrok.com, and number 3 was libertyblock.com. And that, I believe, was how it was when that program died. But yeah, overall, the ranking as far as that, we were number 3 or number 2 if you don't consider WMUR New Hampshire.
So you're getting eyes. You're getting eyes on your site. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So anybody who wants to write some stuff, definitely get in touch with Alu. He's good.
Yeah, no, but like some of your projects, like I kind of hinted in the description and talk about you've been building kind of a little collective, like, because you're not the only author we have here in New Hampshire. We have a lot of prolific authors who write a lot of stuff. I write about 2,500 words a week of articles myself, and we have Carla Garrick, who's published her book, Travis Corcoran, who's won awards for his science fiction, and a bunch of other people just putting stuff out and putting out liberty-based content here in New Hampshire. And you've kind of taken an initiative of trying to get everyone together, get everyone on the same page lately. Like, what's kind of your vision and your goal there in getting everyone kind of together instead of the just decentralized, everyone do your own thing approach?
Yeah, well, we have a lot of amazing authors. I think we have around 24, maybe 20 or 30 really good authors in the liberty movement, and most of their books are about pro-liberty stuff. Like you said, some write fiction too, but it's mostly pro-liberty content they produce. Ian Underwood's probably my favorite writer as far as his articles at Granite Rock and Liberty Block. He's written a few op-eds for us. And he finally wrote 2 books in the last few months, and he plans to churn out a bunch more because they're short, simple. They're simple and they're brilliant. They're brilliantly simple. I love his writing, just like his articles. So I bought both his books right away. I highly recommend them. And so I spoke to him, and I spoke to a bunch of other authors. And Carla Garrick obviously has her great book with a lot of short stories and stuff. And we have a lot of authors that I met at PorcFest. At PorcFest, in the middle of PorcFest, I had my Liberty Block booth at RV1. We sold like a lot of books. And I was talking to people while I was giving the speeches, and I realized we had a lot of authors. We had like 20 or 30 or more in the state. And I want to get us all into a group so we can all help each other. We're spread throughout the state. And finally, I made a Facebook group, and we have around 25 people of Liberty authors, mostly living in New Hampshire, that we all help each other. And then a few people mentioned they want to be in my group, but they don't have Facebook because they're smart or because they're so a lot of them asked for a signal group. So I made a signal group. I think it has around 20 authors, 15 or 20 now, and it's all New Hampshire authors, I believe. And we're in that group chatting and helping each other. And one person from the Seacoast who writes kids' books about corona-fascism and free market economics wants to have a meetup once a month. And I said if he takes the initiative for that, that would be amazing. I would come. We can all help each other a lot with writing, marketing, editing, sharing, reviews, purchases, everything. And then so we have the signal group, which is awesome, and we can all help each other a ton. And it's growing and it's doing fantastically. So I'm super excited. As far as my vision, I want to kind of take over the world. If we all help each other, even with just like buying and reviewing, but if we help each other with everything, including marketing and cross market, we can like take over, and we can have in like political freedom. Like right now, taxation is theft is the #1 new release in political freedom section category on Amazon. We can have perpetually the top 10 can be porcupines in New Hampshire, Liberty authors, like the top 10 books or top 10 authors in political freedom and economics and medical freedom or medicine or whatever. So I think we can like kind of take over Amazon. And as we get more and more sales, there's a point where Amazon itself starts essentially giving you free advertisement because it places you high on the rankings when people search for like any keyword like freedom or liberty or capitalism or corona-fascism. So eventually I want us all to help each other synergetically to take over Amazon and take over the world so we can leave everyone alone.
Yeah, no, and it goes way beyond just the books too. Like I've written books. I just finished my second and getting ready to publish that. But like you yourself, you host your podcasts, your YouTube channel. I have a couple podcasts, YouTube channels that I run. Reed is prolifically known as a YouTuber and podcaster in the Liberty movement. And like, it seems like kind of engaging in the new media and all these different avenues of new media is really helping spread the message of liberty. I have met one person who they haven't moved yet. I met them online and they're in the process of trying to move to New Hampshire for the Free State Project, who didn't even know about the Libertarian Party until they stumbled on one of Reed's podcasts on YouTube. And then after watching a few of Reed's interviews with people, ended up going to Tower Gang and then watching Jose's show and watched Jose's interviews with me and Jeremy, and then looked into the Free State Project. And now they're planning to move, and it's been less than a year. So just having that outreach.
Yeah, just like I've been hearing a lot recently about how much the content we produce is attracting people who were not going to move or on the fence about moving or were leaning towards moving to New Hampshire. As people realize that we have a real serious amount of big production of Liberty content. Like you said, the books, podcast, YouTube, a lot of the bigger podcasters, YouTubers, authors, writers are in New Hampshire. Like this is the place for libertarians to be. If you like liberty, if you're a voluntarist, libertarian, or anything like that, New Hampshire is the place to be. We have so many, like people in the liberty movement producing content. If you think of a state with only 1.4 million people, and some percentage of that, I don't know, 1 or 2 or 3% are like liberty activists or liberty authors, like 10% are liberty activists, like 3% are liberty authors. That's a tremendous percentage. There's no other state like that. There's no state where such a high percentage are liberty activists and or content producers.
Now, have you ever worried about saturation being a problem in the content creation world? Like, there's just too many podcasts, too many YouTube channels, too many books, too many authors, too many blogs and news outlets for people to follow and keep track of. Does it ever like kind of dilute itself? And
yeah, I've thought about it a little bit, oversaturation. With podcasts, there are a ton, and I wouldn't have made one. I happen to have a talk radio show on radio, so I already had the content. I made a podcast to put it up there, and now we have the podcast. But I wouldn't have started one if not for that. Same with websites. There are probably 1 million libertarian websites, which is a good thing. I wouldn't recommend starting one. Again, I had the radio show and everything already. But when people ask about it, I say, really think twice if you want to spend the time and money to start another Liberty site when you could just join one of the many. Again, we have, not only do we have like 1,000 websites that are pro-liberty in New Hampshire, we have like 5 or 6 secession websites. There's so many websites dedicated to secession. There are people I didn't even know who made NewHampshireSecession.com. We have Liberty Block, which is very much pro-secession. There's nhexit.us, nhexit.org, and I think a few others. And there's obviously the GraniteRepublic.com, which is Patrick Binder's store with a lot of amazing New Hampshire independence content, including a flag that he's created. So we have like 6 websites specific to secession. We have various organizations here just about liberty with gun rights, very hardcore gun rights advocacy groups. So we have so many groups for everything, multiple education freedom groups. Yeah, we have tons already. But I wouldn't say I'm worried about saturation, especially with the books. Amazon already has, probably a few million or a few 100 million books, maybe 1 billion. So there's already a ton. And like I said, at least for me, I can't speak for the other authors, but I won't try to reinvent the wheel. If a book is out there that has something I was going to write about, like a great book about chronofascism, I'll just promote that book and I'll work on my next project, because I have books that will be like 150 chapters that I would like to write one day in my dreams. So I have plenty of stuff that I need to do. I'm busy enough, but I wrote Coronafascism like a year ago before there were really books about it. There were like no books besides, I think, Alex Berenson's first booklet that I knew about. That's why I wrote that book, because I feel like there's no one out there in the world saying it, or like no one saying it from a perspective anywhere near mine. So like I at least me, all my books are unique. There's no one who's written a book about due process that discusses every single example of systemic violations of due process. There are a few books here and there about tiny niche arguments or issues in the criminal justice system, but I try to write books that are totally unique.
So I have a bad internet connection, so it's freezing like every 30 seconds. But how do you try to keep the content interesting to everybody? Like, I feel like that is where libertarians really fail. They'll talk about, Peter Schiff took the most boring subject ever and made it interesting to listen to somehow. Like when I've listened to him talk about interest rates and how they affect an economy or whatever, it's the most interesting thing ever, when that was the most boring thing to me before. So how do you suggest people try to make this content interesting to normies so they'll actually read it and understand it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I can't speak for others. Others have said my books are interesting and don't really put them to sleep. So that's good to hear. I think that I try pretty hard, and I hope I'm successful in keeping out fluff and kind of making it short and to the point. In all my books, the average chapter is like 1 or 2 pages, 1, 2, 3 pages. It's like 1,000 to 2,000 words, maybe a bit longer. So the chapters are pretty short. They get to the point and then get in and get out and then move on to the next point. And I do try to use some stories from my own personal life where the government has screwed me over. I have some stories of my relatives that I've kept mostly anonymous, but close relatives, like in my family, in some of the books where the government screwed them over in weird ways. So the human stories that show humanity and like real life examples, like storytelling, that helps a lot with keeping books interesting. Instead of saying like printing money causes inflation in the money supply and that's bad, and free market is good, and gold is good, I can say a real life story about how inflation is killing my my in-laws, my father. My in-laws have cancer and they're old, and the inflation is killing them, and their rent is increasing, and their social security checks are not. They're going to be out on the street and dying. And if you support taxation and endless printing, you're supporting the elderly immigrant people with cancer dying on the streets. So I can make it a little bit more interesting, or at least relatable, with stories like that. So I do try to use a lot of stories in the book. But just I don't think it's also. I never thought it was a big issue with being boring. I'm not too afraid of that because the things I have in my books, like presumed guilty, taxation is theft, it like briefly discusses travesties, like horrible things of like Kelo versus New London's a famous case that I reference in a lot of my books of the government stealing a house via eminent domain, the local government in Connecticut, from a widow and stealing her house and giving her a few bucks for it and giving it to Pfizer to have the whole lot so they can build a new pharmaceutical plant. And that project fell through anyway. They didn't even build on it. But like stuff like that, it makes their blood boil always, all across the political spectrum. So things like that, I don't think I'm too afraid of becoming boring, but I think it is a great question. It's a great point to keep in mind.
Yeah, because I always feel every time I write something, it's like, well, who's going to read this? And that's what you do have to ask at the end of the day is like, are you writing this for you or are you writing this for other people? And like, I ended up taking the approach, well, I'm writing this for me. If other people enjoy it, that's just a benefit and a positive spin. But at the end of the day, I'm writing this because it's something I felt needed to be put out. I felt needed to be written. And if nobody likes it, whatever, I still got it on paper.
Yeah, that's kind of how I approach it, to be honest. I love writing. For me, it's like one of my ultimate like meditations or therapeutic things that I do. Like I love working out and lifting and hitting the bag, and like I love running and I love writing. Like it gets my thoughts and emotions out there. So I like doing it, and I primarily do it for me. And then on the flip side of that is I try to put out a fantastic product for my consumers, for my readers. I try to make it the best product possible. But there's totally that side to it too. I definitely agree that I'm doing it for me. So I want to get my express myself, get my stuff out there.
Yeah. Now, have you run into like any kind of hang up? I mean, well, there's a great question we have. Do you write as fast as you talk? Everyone asks that every time. I think every time we've had you on a show, somebody's made the joke about how they have to turn down the podcast to have.
Yeah, I type fast, but I'm not the fastest typer in the world. My brother, but Laser was here. He kicked my ass a lot about it. And we all did a test, and I think he was way faster than me. My wife was actually even with me, and she doesn't type like the professional proper way and doesn't write a lot. So I'm not that fast a typer. I'm probably average. My brother whooped my butt.
Yeah. But like with the speed that you do put out content, with the speed you do write, I mean, like, how much time commitment do you put into this to content generation across everything? Because, I mean, let's face it, it's a labor of love for the most part, of like what most people do in all aspects of liberty activism. It's not something that generally sustains people. It's something you do and you hope to maybe cover your costs. But like, how much time have you put into building your content creation platforms, writing the podcast, the YouTube channels, the websites, everything like that? And like, at the end of the day, like, what advice do you have to somebody just kind of starting?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't know if I have any good advice. I'm barely profitable with the books. I'm essentially profitable, but with Liberty Block, I'm certainly not. So I'm probably not in a good position to give advice. As far as the hours, it's really hard to say. In an average week over the last 2 years, between Liberty Block and the books and all my Liberty content, I might put in, it's hard to say, 10, 20, 30, 40 hours a week, maybe 50, 60 hours a week. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. It could be, 3, 4, 5 hours a day. So like 35 hours a week. Because I love it and I hardly notice it. I love it. It's one of the few things where I'll get lost in and like I won't realize I have not had any water or food or bathroom in like 4 hours because I'm writing. So I can write for a few hours at a time until like my butt gets numb or my hands start hurting. So I love doing it. So it's for sure a labor of love. And as far as advice, I mean, books are a good way you can make money. I'm finally, after 2 years, like I said, 600 books sold is really good. It's technically in the top 1% of authors because most authors sell a dozen books across their lifetime. But I work super hard, and I think they are great books. For those who read them, they like them. But the marketing is tough. There's a lot of competition out there with books and even more with websites. But again, I can speak to Liberty content more than general content. Nonfiction is tough. Fiction has potential, a few billion readers. Nonfiction has probably only a few 100 million readers in the world of nonfiction. So that's way tougher. That's a lesson I'm learning now. Trying to market the books and everything. Maybe I'll write a novel to make money. It'll be about liberty and independence, but it'll be a novel, more fiction. So it can have, be more interesting. It'll have a better storyline with better characters, but I have to get good at learning how to write fiction. It's a whole different thing. I would say market it to your friends. One of the few things that I do, I don't have any on me, but I make business cards to help market it, where you've all seen a million of these and you got a billion in your houses. It's a business card. The front is the book cover. and the back has the QR code and a bit more info that brings you right to the Amazon page for the book. So I've made tons of those. I just got them for taxation and stuff. They look beautiful. They're black and yellow. They're awesome. So that's a good marketing thing. Post on social media, tell friends about it in real life, give out the cards to everyone, put them in all your local stores and everything, wherever they accept cards or cork boards. I put some at my gym, and just keep working hard and make a great book. Make sure the book is accurate, because you don't want to lose the trust from your readers. So make sure that it's all at least decently well sourced and accurate.
Yeah, you are a relentless marketer. It's pretty impressive. It's like every time I see you, you're like, hey, here's these things, here's these business cards. Like, give them to your friends, give them to your family, put them in stores, put them up on bulletin boards. And like for a while, I was going around, I was doing some of that anyway. I was like, I'll just throw some of these. Like my wallet was full of your cards. Every time I open my wallet, Alu is looking at me like a different one. You give me a different card, and I'd like, finally get rid of the old ones. Like then I have new ones. Because once a month, you're basically guaranteed to run into Alu and get some more content like promoted to you, and usually something good. So how did you discover your love of writing? Have you always been writing? Like, is that like a thing you grew up doing? Like, because like you definitely write a lot. Also, do you hate the advertising part? Because I feel like a lot of authors hate that part, and you seem like pretty happy to just, if it's hitting or not hitting, you're like, I did it. Here it is. Go take a look at it. If you like it, let me know.
Well, I kind of hate asking for anything. So I do hate marketing myself and pimping myself. So I don't really like that. I love talking to people and educating and promoting like liberty and stuff in my work. But on the other hand, I hate asking for favors or selling. I've never been a salesman. I'm probably not a great salesman. Like asking people to buy stuff. I'm not great at that, I don't think. But I do enjoy if someone's discussing chronofascism. I'll say, hey, I wrote a book about chronofascism. It's one of the biggest and most comprehensive books with 600 footnotes. And it's written one of the few written from someone in emergency medicine for 11 years. So, I'll mention it. As far as my love for writing, that's a good question. In high school, I had to write by hand some essays and stuff, and I resented it a lot. I hated it. I don't think I really liked it unless I could write about something I enjoy. And just like everyone else in the world, I'm sure, I love writing about stuff that I love, and I hate writing about stuff that I have to, like for school. And now I'm back in online school, and I hate writing if it's something I don't care about. But I could twist almost any class: sociology, criminal justice, English, and I can choose a topic that I'm passionate about, like secession or peaceful separation or dividing up the union or balkanization. Like, these various topics, I can always bring it around to something like that, or taxation of theft or peace or liberty or something. So, in school, I resented it because, like my dad always says, in school, what the government schools do to you, when I went to public school for high school, they stamp out the creativity and the love for learning by forcing it upon you, not letting you choose what you want to write about, telling you have to write an essay. I remember resenting my English teachers, even the ones I liked. I resented that they made me write about an exact topic. So they wanted 30 carbon copy essays from their class, from their students. It has to be the exact same topic. They tell you what to write. They tell you how to write it, how to use
What's your opinion supposed to be?
Writing. What's that?
What's your opinion supposed to be?
Right.
Yeah. So I really resented that. Like, they put me in a box and didn't let my creativity stretch and everything. But now once I started writing, like for Liberty Block when I was on talk radio in New York, I started writing on my own, and I wrote whatever I wanted, nothing holding me back, zero. I didn't really use curse words because I didn't want that kind of website. But other than that, I had nothing holding me back. I had no rules. I wrote whatever I wanted. So I would write, New York City is communist. Here's 10 reasons. And I wrote reasons. I just wrote freely. I was so free. So that was super liberating. And I loved it. And I got better and better at writing over the years. My first articles were in early 2017, and they weren't great. And now I've written 400 or 500 articles, I believe, for Liberty Block, and they're all still there. You can go back to the archive and everything. And I think I've gotten better at writing. And then, like by 2021, I realized I wanted to really write books about the entire liberty movement, the most important thing about why you should give up on the union. So my first book was Blueprint for Liberty. I'll try to find it here. And it's pretty much meant to convince anyone who supports liberty, conservative, libertarian, or voluntarist why they should give up on the union. So it's a picture I took, so I own the rights to it and everything. So I like using my own pictures. I burned an American flag. Sorry, conservatives. I burned a flag and I took a picture of it. And out of the United States burning, these states, if you could see that state, where like the states are rising from the ashes and leaving the union because the union can't be saved. So this book explains in great depth why they should give up on the union, and it goes to perspectives from the economy, the culture, the education, everything about the union cannot be saved. And part 2 of the book explains why you can't save it, what we've tried. We've tried voting harder for 246 years, and it's only gotten worse. It's the definition of insanity, trying to vote our way out of it. You can't vote your way out of tyranny, especially on a federal level of a tremendous union. So, like, the important issues like that, that's why I wanted to start writing books. But yeah, to answer your question, I love writing now, but it's only when I can write what I want to write.
Gotcha. So when you're trying to reach an audience, do you find it easier with right-wing people or left-wing people? So for me, 2.5 years ago, when I started doing stuff, most of it was to libertarians, but there was also this bit I was trying to reach out to people who were kind of more on the left because Donald Trump was president, and I was trying to kind of gain their sympathy with things like ending the war in Yemen or whatever. But then as things have gone insane and the left has taken more political power recently, now it's kind of more on the right-wing side of things that I can find people. So I was wondering if you pay attention to those statistics much, and like who you think you guys tend to resonate better with.
Yeah, that's a great question. So Liberty Block is definitely more targeted towards libertarians and voluntarists and conservatives. Sure. A lot of the writers and podcast co-hosts are pretty conservative, some libertarian. Culturally, we're all pretty conservative. Culturally, I'm very conservative, though I'm very liberal in some ways on drugs and police and everything. Those are somewhat cultural issues. I'm very liberal, but people know I'm not like the biggest drug or LGBT person in the universe. So personally, in my own life, in my own house, I'm pretty conservative. But yeah, most of our content leans towards the right in a lot of ways. Economically, criminal justice, guns. Although criminal justice, it's more liberal because we support police accountability more and no victimless crimes. That being said, with my last few, taxation to theft is obviously going to be more conservatives than progressives, like that book, but it's mostly for libertarians. That's like pure red meat for libertarians and voluntarists to get an even better grasp of taxation and how it's unnecessary and evil. But it's for everyone. I co-authored a book, Progressive Solution, with Marcus Ruiz Evans of CalExit, Yes, California. So that was really targeted towards progressives. We wrote that when Trump was still president, I believe. So I do want to update that. And then the book, Presumed Guilty, I also really thought about both sides when I wrote this, because it's just about due process, and everyone believes in due process. Genuinely, everyone from the left and ACLU to the Tea Party on the right, everyone believes in due process of law before being punished by the government. So I do think that like this is a book that could have the broadest reach, because I see not just libertarians but also almost every conservative and progressive at least identifying with a good chunk of the book. And then some of the chapters will challenge some of their ideas for sure. But I think that this has a very broad scope, whereas Corona Fascism and Taxation to Theft will immediately turn off around half of the potential readers.
I definitely agree with that. That Presumed Guilty book will appeal to just about everybody.
Yeah. Whereas Articles of Secession may have a much more narrow focus on who it does appeal to, but it's definitely good. Like we've gone over, well sourced, well put together, short, and a real easy read. And
well, the great thing about that Articles of Secession book is Alu, if you come up with a reason that he hasn't heard of yet, he'll go sit down, figure it out, do the research, and come back and be like, all right, so, here's my argument for why we can still make it work. And like literally anything. So if you have an argument like why secession could never work, that's the dude to debate it with. He'll let you know.
Exactly. Please email me if you have a question. I try to address all the questions about secession in the book. A chapter for every question: how will the economy work? How will education work? How will interstate travel work? And I answer it on a pretty serious level, very specific. Obviously, I can't predict the future, but I try to be specific about how a certain part of the United States, part of the state would work, depending on the exact system. And yeah, if you have a question I didn't cover in the book, please message me. I will, if it's a legitimate question. If it's a hard question, that's fine. I'll put it into the book. We'll try to answer it. If I can't answer it, I'll say I can't answer it. But yeah, I love to debate too. I debated secession once. I'm still waiting for someone else to debate me. No legislator has taken me up on it. All the legislators have so far ducked my debate requests. The chief anti-independence legislator ducked my request a few times, and he happened to lose his primary, so he's not going to go back to the New Hampshire House. So maybe that's what happens if you duck debates on your biggest issue, because his biggest issue was him supporting the DC Empire and being essentially a modern-day redcoat and hating liberty. So maybe that's what happens. I don't know how much of a reason that was for his primary loss, but I would love to debate anyone, especially New Hampshire legislators. So again, as I say almost every day, open invitation to anyone in the world to debate independence.
Alu, where can everybody find you, your books, your writings? Keep in touch.
LibertyBlock.com, AluAxelman.com. You can find me on Twitter at Alu Axelman. I'm still on Facebook for now. YouTube did cancel us, so Liberty Block doesn't exist on YouTube anymore. We're on Odyssey and Rumble, and I just made a BitChute today because a friend reminded me. You can find all my books on Amazon or find me in person if you want to buy them. Cash, gold backs, crypto, silver. Obviously, when it's a person, I do a personalized signed copy. The books range from like $8 to $20. And yeah, I think that's all of the websites. Alu at Liberty Block goes to my Proton mail. Thank you. Yeah, libertyblock.com. Alu Axelman at gmail.com as well. I'm pretty easy to get in touch with, I think. So people can find me. And I go to all the events. So once you move to New Hampshire, you will see me at all the events. You'll see the beautiful Liberty Block hat. We do have like 2 left for sale if anybody wants them. And you'll see me and you'll have a million cards of mine in your face in like 2 seconds. So
every single week. Doesn't matter how many you've taken. So thanks for coming on. It's been a great show, great informative. Looking forward to seeing more of your work, more of everyone's work as we get the community more organized towards creating more content to promote freedom, promote the Free State Project, and promote the idea of liberty in our lifetimes. And for those of you watching, if you're not here yet and you haven't decided when you're going to make your move, make your visit. Go to fsp.org/visit New Hampshire, get plugged in. Chris is great, fantastic. She can help you get connected, get visit planned, and get you to New Hampshire so you can meet your future neighbors, find your future community, and figure out how quickly you want to come home. And while you're here, always check out fsp.org/calendar for the most jam-packed, liberty-filled calendar in the world. More events than you can even manage to go to. Trust me, some people have tried and nobody's ever managed to go to every single one. And if you want to support what's going on, support the mission. If you're here or not here yet, always fsp.org/give, where you can donate on a individual, single time, one time, or recurring basis. And remember, the Free State Project is a 501c3 charitable nonprofit organization, so those contributions are tax deductible. Better put your money where you'd like it rather than where the government does. So again, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Reed, Bill, anything you want to leave people with?
Go first, Bill.
I got nothing.
Got nothing.
Yeah, just follow me, Naturalist Capitalist. I should have some interesting interviews coming up soon if promises are kept. So just keep an eye on it.
And more about that later.
Yes.
Yeah. And definitely read Alu's books.
Definitely, for sure. And as always, whenever you read something or whenever you're watching content from your favorite Liberty creators, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and leave reviews. Let the world know how good it is and why they should watch. And until next time, everybody, be free.
Love you guys.
Yeah, I don't believe in destiny. I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies. They're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me. You ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know. Better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know. Call me selective with my notes. Call me aggressive with my flow. Call me offensive even though Joe, I ain't gonna lie.